Welcome. My name is Neville Medora, and our guest today, this is pretty exciting, Daniel O'Shea. Welcome.
Hello.
So Daniel is the director of engineering at X, formerly known as Twitter. Elon Musk bought his company Laskie, and then you were hired on to basically create LinkedIn, but at X.
Correct.
And then Daniel has also priorly sold his companies to YC-backed. He made a YC-backed hiring platform. He sold that to Indeed and has been involved in a handful of other startups. And I think your recent thing is you're doing like an AI Accelerator for engineers. So if there's any AI engineers or any engineers out there looking for building AI side projects, hit up Daniel. It's pretty cool. Director of Engineering X, Daniel O'Shea. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for having me.
You built a company called Laskie, I believe.
Yeah.
And that was acquired by X. What was that story?
Yeah. So we had built, so my founder at Laskie and I had built a company prior in the hiring space. This company Interview was a YC-backed company. We sold it to Indeed. We kind of knew a lot about the hiring space, working in it for 6 years or whatever. And we had built effectively it was a recruiting agency along with a hiring platform. And so it was very there was a lot of software. There was effectively a marketplace component, but there was also a lot of just manual recruiting work that we were doing for companies. We started that in 2001. Lots of startups hiring at the time. Things were growing quickly. We became profitable fast. We grew the team to around 70 employees fairly quickly.
Nice.
And then late 2022, VC funding froze up. Companies started doing layoffs. Everyone stopped hiring. And that sort of was like the beginning of the end for us. We had to do a big layoff. We had to cut the team in half. I would think like 75% of our customers churned in the course of like 3 months or something like
Yikes.
that. And so Chris, my co-founder, and I, we were, brainstorming options. Like what could we do from here, right? I think there were a lot of things on the table. We could, stay in hiring, but do something, much more software focused that we needed would require a smaller team. We could completely pivot out of hiring altogether, which was on the table. And then there was like a Hail Mary option, which was, could we get the company acquired? And so, right around that time, so Chris Bakke, my co-founder, he's kind of a prolific Twitter shit poster.
Yeah.
He's got a couple 100,000 followers. And right when all of this stuff was going on, Elon actually followed him on X. And we were kind of talking through ideas, and Chris threw out the idea, hey, maybe I will start to just post about what Twitter could do if it got into the hiring game, and like basically the market size, the potential there, how hiring is already happening on Twitter. And so he did. He started making a few posts here and there about how much money LinkedIn makes, about, why LinkedIn is cringy, why there was an opportunity for Twitter to enter the hiring space. And one of those posts caught Elon's eye. And he DM'd Chris and said, hey, this is interesting. Would you be interested in possibly doing this with us here and like bringing Laskie into Twitter? It was Twitter at the time. And we obviously wanted to play it cool, but we're like, I can't believe this is actually happening. I can't believe this worked. And so we got invited to go up and meet him in Palo Alto, and basically just pitch him on explain to him what we've been doing at Laskie, and pitch him on what it would look like to have us join Twitter and work on job stuff. And that story is kind of like a wild one, how that worked out. The first time we met him was actually at a house party. So we weren't really told kind of where we were going or, what the kind of vibe was going to be, but we showed up, we got an address, we got a time, we showed up, and it was his friggin' birthday party. And so they were throwing a birthday party for him. There was a bunch of, SpaceX, Tesla people there. And there was effectively like a Cirque du Soleil show going on in the backyard. It was very surreal. It was very wild. We went and just kind of sat quietly for 30 minutes waiting for Elon. There was literally a juggling show where someone was juggling fire. And actually, again, just to make this all very surreal, set her hair on fire right there in front of us while we're waiting for Elon. Elon kind of watches the show, watches this woman get her hair fire put out, and then kind of calmly walks over and's like, "Hey, how's it going? Tell me about Laskie." We sat down on a sofa for, I think, something like 45 minutes with him.
Wait, just like full party going on
full
around
party
you?
going around us. He was sitting there, having a drink with us, laptop out on an ottoman. And we had prepared this 20 slide deck, basically like, here's all the things we've done at Laskie. Here's why we know hiring. Here is our vision for, how why X should do hiring, like what the future of hiring looks like, all these things. The first slide was like our, basically what we thought the future of hiring should look like. And we just never got past the first slide. We stayed on that first slide for 45 minutes and he just got deep in the weeds with us. He asked us a bunch of questions about what we had done at Laskie. He asked us our opinions on, the future of hiring. 45 minutes goes by, gets up, shakes our hand, says like, let's do this. Like basically effectively made a decision right there on the spot, which was kind of wild.
I did not know this whole story about that.
Yeah.
This whole story. Wait, I'm so curious. So like when he was talking, is he like is like grilling you? Did it feel intense, or was it like a curiosity thing? What was the vibe?
Very collaborative, very, very much curiosity driven. He was very kind, very charismatic. We were laughing a lot. I was incredibly nervous, and he I think disarmed us pretty immediately and just kind of felt like we were talking. It had the vibe of like being in YC and talking to like a group partner or something like that. They're just asking you about your business, your challenges, what the vision is. It did not feel, I had been through 2 acquisitions prior to this. It did not feel anything like those previous conversations. It was very, very interesting.
What about the slides? You said you made a bunch of slides. Were you like, but wait, what about slide 15? It has like a cool chart, or did he just not care?
I mean, he didn't care, and I think we probably dodged a bullet by not having to show them those slides. I mean, I think I understand a lot better now what he expects when he's being presented like a roadmap and a product plan and all those things. And I think we would have totally fucked it up if we would have got past slide like 5. So it's probably a good thing that we stayed on slide 1 and kind of learned a little bit more about his, how he thinks about product development, how he thinks about design. He likes to keep things simple. He doesn't like the complex. I think looking back on some of those things, they were probably too complex for his taste. So it was probably maybe a blessing.
Did you have the typical investor slides? Like, if we capture 3% of the hiring market, here's how much money we can make.
I don't think we had that, but we definitely had a slide that just said, here's how much money LinkedIn makes. And he was like, what the fuck? That's how much money that LinkedIn makes? And I think showing him, I think telling him kind of 2 facts, how much money LinkedIn makes, how much money Indeed makes, I don't know what the kind of up-to-date numbers were, but I think as of last year, 2022, LinkedIn's like 24 billion, Indeed's 10 billion, they make a lot of money. And I think when you explain that to him and he sees the potential there, I think that's when the gear started turning. So.
And then what about like when he offering to buy the price, did he say, here's a price, do you think it's cool? Or do you just like, that goes to a whole different like team then?
He negotiated price with us. He threw out a price on the spot. He actually did. He threw out like a number on the spot and general terms on the spot. I think we were completely unprepared for that conversation because we just thought there's no way that that's actually going to happen. But he did. And but we did have a series of follow-up conversations with him. We met with him another 3 or 4 times before the actual deal was closed. And there, I mean, there's a whole story there too, where this was all kind of going on, fairly soon after he acquired Twitter, and there were still massive changes happening. There were still rounds of layoffs happening. The company was still Twitter and wasn't incorporated as X, and so there was just all these things in motion at the time, and we were kind of like showing up to meetings, talking to people when just everything was changing. People were getting laid off. Things, it was very, very wild. With the deal actually got put on hold for I think about 2 months. We thought we had blown it in like one of our final meetings. He just kind of ghosted us for a bit. We thought, okay, this is done. Let's move on. But turned out he was I think just waiting for the dust to settle for all the other changes. Followed back up, said, all right, let's do this. A couple months later, and then it happened very, very quickly after that. So,
oh my God.
Yeah.
That's also, from everyone I know who's sold like a big company, it's kind of funny. That's never the way that like a price negotiation goes. It's usually like a meeting room with a lot of lawyers, a lot of back and forth, a lot of like, okay, we'll accept the price, but then we're going to have to set these conditions. Then you go back and forth.
Yes.
It's a long drawn out, bloody process.
Yes.
That seems like he was just moving fast.
Yeah, I think that is a great example of how he operates. I mean, I think, we can get into a little bit more of like the operating principles I've learned from him later, but I think decisiveness is like one of his superpowers. Like he will get in a room with very little context and based on his gut and pattern matching from all the stuff he's done over the years, he just like, he knows on the spot if he wants to do a thing.
Okay, so what were you planning on building for him? Like what was the goal? Like what was the pitch? Like here's what we're going to build on the play. I mean, I know it has hiring, but like what? It's just like LinkedIn for X, basically.
Yeah. I mean, that was the pitch at a high level. I think the things that were different. So he has a personal opinion about LinkedIn, which I agree with. That LinkedIn is very cringy. The content is generally bad. The conversations there are generally bad. It's a lot of kind of pandering. His vision was to be able to have hiring happen on a platform where there's more authentic conversation happening, where there's, leaders are engaged, conversations that are on kind of the cutting edge of technology, that all that stuff happens on X and does not happen on LinkedIn. The most influential leaders in the world, the most interesting technology discussions, that's all happening on X. That's not happening on LinkedIn. And so I think the idea is like, if these people are already on a platform talking about their work, sharing their work in public, and you as some engineer, some product person with very little background can access these people. It's an amazing place to be able to hire, and I think he had experience here. He said that he had hired tons of people off of Twitter before his acquisition, and so he knew the power of Twitter for hiring, and so. I think the idea was just like, how do we continue to make it a place where people think to go when they're looking for a job? And how do we just like make hiring and recruiting related content just start to show up in the platform more and just, make that sort of serendipity that was happening previously happen more.
I've hired primarily on Twitter X.
Yeah.
Especially for contractors and stuff where I need like a little job and I'm like, I don't want to apply to like a big agency to have like this long drawn out thing. I'm like, who can do this for this amount of money?
Yes.
And it's probably the fastest place where people reach out, like real people too.
Yes.
And it's really easy to just see their feed and see what they're talking about all the time. If I'm looking for a designer, they got a bunch of good designs. I'm like, cool, we're good.
Yeah.
If they have a bunch of bad designs, I also cool. Like I know that that's not the right person.
Yeah. And I think the power there is, I think we all know that the resume is like a fairly broken thing.
Who reads a resume?
I mean, a lot of recruiters still do. A lot of hiring managers still make resume-based decisions. But I would love to see the world get away from that and focus more on a portfolio, your portfolio, your Twitter, your X feed. I think that is what the future of hiring should look like.
Mm-hmm.
And so the fact that it happens very organically on X is amazing. Like, I mean, to your point, I was recently looking at hiring a designer, and the fact that I could just go and look at a handful of profiles and look at their feed. I don't need to see a resume. In some cases, I don't even need to talk to these people to know that I'm interested in working with them. And that's not something you can really get on any other hiring platform. For designers, maybe like Dribbble, you can get that. But for
Behance, those types of platforms,
yeah,
where
exactly.
It's like,
maybe for design, maybe that's more of a solved problem.
Yeah.
But for engineering, it's less so the case. I think engineers working in AI right now, I think like it's actually like very cool. I follow a lot of small accounts on X that are hacking on little projects in AI.
Yeah.
And their resume is their feed. Like you look at all their little things they're running, all their insights on different models they're trying, and like I can look at some unknown engineer with an anime profile picture who's got 200 followers and know within 1 minute if the person's cracked. And that's that's not something you can get from anywhere else. So
Yeah, I mean, I personally have a whole list called programming.
Yeah.
Where it's just programmers posting programming things. That's not on my main feed all the time because personally I don't understand all of it sometimes.
Yes.
But I follow along and watch like the stuff. They're just like, they'll make like a quick little video about the projects they're making. I'm like, oh, that's dumb. That's dumb. That's really cool. Yeah. And you can just watch what they're doing and how they think.
Yes.
And I think that's what hiring probably should be, rather than like, I went to this school and graduated on this year. It's like, who cares?
Yeah.
You don't even have a college degree, and you're the one in charge of all this. Like, it just doesn't matter. Right? Like, what does it matter anymore?
Yeah, it doesn't. I mean, what matters is the work you do, and I think there's no better place to put it out there than X.
So what about this? Let's talk about this. You could say LinkedIn, but on X, right? That's like the high level overview.
Yeah.
But it probably doesn't fit exactly like that. So I remember we had a conversation one time, and you were saying one weird thing you found is that on X, people are posting about like politics and ideas and fun projects and just like personal life. And hey, I went to Colorado this weekend, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then on LinkedIn, they're posting like, here's what I did professionally. It's almost like personal writing versus professional writing. And sometimes the two don't exactly work together super well.
Yes.
So you don't want to be like, here's me with my family, da da da. That's like not as useful for hiring versus professional posting. What are there any other like problems like that you've encountered with trying to just like take one platform and like stick it into another?
Yeah. So I think having some amount of like personal content on your feed is not necessarily a bad thing for hiring. Like, I think figuring out someone's vibe, their interests, their hobbies.
Yeah,
I think there's actually value to that. I think
great point.
If you are, if you're only posting about that, then your profile has limited value from like a hiring and recruiting perspective. But I think, if someone's like, for me, it would be ideal to see 80%, professional content and then 20% personal content, so I can get a sense of like, what's this person like? What are they into? What would it be like to work with them? Do they have a family? Like, I think those are all interesting things to know about a person when you're considering to working with them. So I think the challenge comes more from people who, there's a lot of trolls on X. There's a lot of anon accounts that can say controversial things, that's part of the X vibe, free speech, right? And so I think the challenge comes from some of those accounts that are anon, that are a little bit more risque with the content that they produce. Like, how do those people engage with hiring stuff? Because behind some of those accounts, you might have very legit people who've decided to just be an X troll. And so I think that's, as we're thinking about where to take the product, I think that's a big problem that I think about a lot. LinkedIn is effectively a phone book. Like, almost anyone you run into professionally will have a LinkedIn profile, and they've got their real name, they've got their real photo. You can look at their background. It's a great place to find, almost anyone you meet, professionally, you will find them on LinkedIn. X is not the same. Like, there are, a lot of people on X, but you might not be able to find them because they're not using their real photo. They're not using their real name. So I think that is a problem that we need to solve. We need to figure out how to make X more of a phone book in that sense, where you can find anyone by their actual identity. So I don't know what the solution is here. I could see a version of the world where we encourage users to have both their anon, account for their shit posting, and then their real identity account for professional things. I could see that being a way we go. And we're talking about this a lot right now. But that is certainly like the biggest challenge that I see. And then the other challenge is just that there's a lot of people that for various reasons aren't on X, right?
Yeah.
There's more controversy on X. There's some people that don't actually enjoy what comes with free speech, right? Free speech is in some ways, in many ways, it's a great thing, but it also turns off some percentage of the population that wants to be sort of buffered from that. And so I think these are some of the big things we need to figure out in the coming years to really make it rival LinkedIn.
Yeah, it is. It's like LinkedIn can be cringy at times, but at the same time, it is sanitized enough to where it is like workplace appropriate for the most part.
Exactly.
So like that, it's like almost, is that like a feature or a bug? I don't know. It looks like X probably wouldn't want to do that, like because that's like against the whole ethos and vibe.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like I see why they do that, because I know friends who are lawyers that are like super private.
Yes.
Or doctors that they don't want people looking them up. They don't want to say anything. They're not like online people, but they will be on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Because that's just like a clean place where you can like post your stuff. Yep. So it's like, I don't know, there is something to that. And I'm sure whatever hiring evolves to in the future, or maybe lawyers and stuff can have LinkedIn, but then there could be a whole other segment of like developers and stuff where X is probably the way that you get hired, which I bet it already is.
Yeah.
So I wonder like certain sections or sectors can be more X, and then LinkedIn could like, carve out its own little market.
For sure. I think AI is the obvious example here. Like anything and everything interesting happening with AI is happening on X.
There's no other place.
There's no other place.
You can't, there's no news source where you can like read about advancements in AI. Nothing.
The CEOs of all the most interesting companies are posting on X daily. All the best engineers that are hacking on side projects, all the most interesting open source projects, all these people are engaged on X daily, every day. You do not get that on any platform.
And if you have if you're subscribed to a newsletter or some sort of website that talks about AI developments, their writers are reading X to get those updates.
100%.
And you can just listen to the horse's mouth, the AI scientist talking about it. You can just follow him and get the news.
Yeah.
You almost like don't need this external news source.
Yes. I will say one since I've joined X, I spend a lot more time on X.
Yeah.
Obviously. And I think that I have just become like generally more educated on so many different things, because I am just hearing. So it's almost like being in the room, right? With some of these like very, very smart people working on the bleeding edge of technology. I'm getting stuff directly from their mouths every single day. I mean, it's incredible. It's not something that there's really no other way to get that. It's pretty crazy.
Well, one of the ways I found your profile, I think I saw you, I don't know, it's like on X. I saw you made a comment. I went to go investigate. I saw your profile. And one thing I noticed was you had features on your profile that I'd never seen before.
Yes.
So obviously, the director of engineering at X, you're allowed to, you probably have some like weird beta account, whatever.
Yeah.
Can you talk about some of like the features that you've tried and stuff that like has worked, maybe stuff that's failed, little features y'all tried out?
Yeah. We have a very small team. I guess I'll just say that. We haven't really grown the team since our acquisition, and there's effectively like 6 engineers working on this and competing with LinkedIn that's got, thousands and thousands of engineers working on it. It's tough. So, I'll tell you sort of some of the things we built. We've made it easy for companies to take all their jobs that they have in their ATS, their applicant tracking system, where most companies keep their jobs and effectively publish those jobs to X. People that work at those companies can then take those jobs and feature them on their profile. And I think that's a great way to get people to see jobs that you have open without just kind of like wholeheartedly promote or, wholesale promoting them.
Just like under your profile, it would be like hiring engineer, hiring product manager.
Exactly. So like what I will do, X has a lot of jobs open. I will go and I will kind of think about maybe the top 3 jobs that I think are strategically most important for us to hire for. And I will just feature those directly on my profile. I maybe don't post about them, but then if people find my profile, they want to know more about me, they click and they're able to see those jobs. And we actually get a decent number of applies already through that feature. And we don't even, it's not hugely adopted yet. And we don't really talk about it a ton. So that's an example. We have added a job search product. So if you go to x.com/jobs, there is like a job search product there that's got all the basics of job search. We have over 1 million jobs there already. We have a job recommendation product that's only rolled out to a small number of users. We're working on making it better. But that is, you basically tell us what job titles you're interested in, what locations you're interested in, and you'll just start seeing relevant jobs pop up in your feed. So that's probably, of all the things we've done, that's the thing that's maybe suffered the most from an adoption perspective, just because we need to work on the algorithm. It's just not good yet. It's like the pieces are there, but it's not we don't have enough jobs for it to be interesting, and the algorithm's not there yet. There's too many false positives. Like we have to work on it. So I think that will become an interesting feature. And then I think the other thing that we've done is we have added this idea of expanded bio. And expanded bio, the implementation is kind of simple and silly right now, but you can add effectively as much text as you want to your bio through this view more.
So instead of like 200 characters or whatever, it's unlimited.
And effectively unlimited. It's rich text, so you can have bullet points and links, and also you can format it to like look nice and read nice. And so right now that's only available to premium users, although I'm hoping to change that and make it available to everyone eventually. And then part of the expanded bio feature is the ability to actually put your work history. So right now it's a little bit buried. We want to make it a little bit more visible in the product, but now there is a way to kind of put a very simplified version of your resume on your profile. And so if you are posting about professional things, if you are commenting on people's stuff and they're like, who is this guy? They can click into your bio and actually see, effectively your work history. So, and so I think we're going to be doing more things there to let people, build a very compelling profile that can be effectively like a little portfolio.
What about stuff for freelancers? Because I feel like the world of hiring and the way that the freelancer economy works are going to merge into some weird hybrid.
Yes.
That's kind of what I'm seeing. For example, most of the people I hire for like a small project, instead of going on Fiverr, instead of going on UpWork to find someone, a lot of times I'll just be like, hey, is there anyone that wants to work with me on this project? It's paid. Hit me up in the DMs.
Yeah.
Or put a link to your portfolio so like, check it out real quick.
Yeah.
And the way that works is very inefficient, right? I put the word out. I hope someone randomly sees this. I hope they have time to reply. And I hope I see their stuff enough to where, or they even have some sort of portfolio or past projects that I like. And then I reach out and then I pay them. It just seems like that there's like a lot of disruption right there.
Yeah.
Has freelancing been some part of this? Because a lot of times freelancing gigs turn into full-time gigs.
Yeah.
Is what I've noticed in like the newer economy of like you hire someone on Fiverr for a couple things and like they work really fast, they're really good, they don't complain, and they do the job well. And you're like, well, do you want to make this more semi-permanent and then more permanent? And that becomes a full-time hire. That actually seems like a better way to hire rather than I'm going to pay you full-time benefits and stuff right away. And if you suck, it's hard to get rid of you.
Yeah.
So is there any plans for that or like considerations at all like that you thought of?
I'll say that there are definitely considerations around this. Like I think there are things that I probably shouldn't talk too much about yet because we haven't publicly announced them yet. But that is definitely on our radar as a problem to solve and a thing that happens organically today that is clunky. And I think that's kind of what we're looking for is like, we know these things are happening already, right? We know freelancers are finding jobs. We know agencies are finding jobs. We know, full-time employment is happening. We know all these things are happening on X. I think the idea is how we can take these things that are clunky, inefficient, organic, and make them easier for everyone and make them, things that happen, at a much higher volume at scale.
The other thing is, one thing I've noticed that if a platform can get really popular if people make money off of it.
Yes.
Right. It's pretty simple. Right. Yep. And one of the things that I personally do is, instead of like a forum to get people to do larger projects with us, like these are the bigger personal projects I personally am involved in. What usually happens is I have a sign up form for a consult. And it's just like a Calendly. It accepts money. I think it's like $500 to $750 to meet for an hour. And they schedule a time. They get in. Like after this, I got 2 of them. And what happens is we either work on the call, or what happens is we work on the call and then they go, yeah, this is what we need. We need to do a bigger project together.
Yes.
So I found it's a great way, instead of doing like free trials or anything like that, I'm like, no. You pay me. And if we want to do a bigger project, this will go into that amount. Otherwise, we just pay for a consult. That's the best way.
Yeah.
And I've noticed more and more people doing that. And that is the way that kind of like commerce and transactions have been happening a lot more, especially on X.
Yes.
I did it for a while. I know there's like a way you could put like a buy now button under X. It's a little kind of hidden on how to do it.
Yeah.
But I assume more stuff like that will come up where you could offer your services directly from X.
Yes.
Like that.
Yeah. I think that it would be crazy for us to not try to solve that problem better. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I know you can't say more, but I will say what I think is, I remember UpWork has a stranglehold on the freelancer market.
Yeah.
I did an UpWork experiment last year because I'm like, I know a lot of people that make hundreds of thousands, if not millions, from UpWork as agencies. And the most I've seen anyone make on Fiverr, the top copywriter there made like 300 grand one year. And it was mostly bullshit jobs, except for like 2 clients that he just went full-time with, or semi full-time. That's where he made all his money. So I interviewed all the top people on UpWork and Fiverr. I was wondering why more people don't use UpWork. And I will tell you this, that platform sucks balls. Yeah. I mean, I have so much hope for it. They're so good in so many ways. But then I did a little digging. What happens is they just buy all their competitors. There is no incentive for UpWork to do anything to improve the way that you manage it. Yeah. It is so unbelievably bad. Yes. I cannot believe, like, I will tell people to go on UpWork. So I got reviews for this experiment I did, and they just literally didn't know how to use it. And they would ask me, how do I do this? And I would log in and be like, I got to say, I'm like reasonably technical. I cannot figure this out. I don't know what you have to do to like get paid, to pay me, like basic shit that's been solved by like Apple Pay and a bunch of other places pretty well. You just can't do on UpWork. And the only thing I've seen them get off their ass and copy is Fiverr. Yeah. And Fiverr has a very nice way that you offer a project, and you could offer a project for $100 or 3 different tiers. So $100, $1,000, $10,000, whatever. You can select and press buy. Pretty simple stuff. And UpWork copied that feature. It was the only new feature I've seen them add in the last 10 plus years. And they call it like projects or something. It's basically a Fiverr clone. And I was just like, Fiverr nailed it. Yeah. That's an easy way to buy like 1 package, 3 package, 5, whatever you want. It's very, very simple. So hopefully, I don't know, in the future, that could be something y'all emulate, because I would love to buy directly from X within the platform from a lot of the people I see. Like I follow a lot of coders and stuff like that. Sometimes I might need a little advice or help, and there's no way to like reach out other than DM them and be like, hey, do you do like little consulting? They're like, no, not really. I'm like, can we do this? It's like, if they had like a thing like, get me on the phone for $100 for 15 minutes. Yeah. I mean, that would be pretty awesome.
I will say that when we started Laskie, the company we sold to X, we actually started with an UpWork Fiverr competitor, productized services. We went all in on effectively building a marketplace for productized services. So I think I share your opinion that UpWork has not really innovated. They haven't really invested in making their product awesome. Nope. They've added some bells and whistles, but at the end of the day, it's still kind of the same shit that for the last 10 years. And so I think there's a
I will implore you to sign up as a freelancer and tell me your experience.
Yeah, I've not done that.
Horrific. Okay. I mean, like literally horrific. I mean, I can't even figure out how to work it. It's crazy.
Okay. I'll have to do that.
Yeah. How do you think about these product features? So it sounds like right now you're like in spaghetti phase, throwing spaghetti at the wall, see what works. Is that kind of like something that Elon told you all to do? Is this like just how it works? Like you just try a bunch of crap and see like, are people using it? Are people liking it? Are people commenting on it? How do you think about like how, if a product should succeed or you kill it?
Right now we're actually kind of still in execute on the original vision mode. So all the things we've worked on are effectively things that were in that original 1 slide pitch that we pitched to Elon. And we're still, because the team is small and there's a lot of surface area here. Not only does our team have to, do all the back end work here and get it on web, but we also have to get it on iOS, Android. So there's just our team's maybe not moving at the velocity that I would like, but we're still kind of executing on that original vision. So we are, I think we will start to experiment with new things here in the next few months and start trying things that kind of deviate a bit from the original vision that we had. Mm-hmm. Things that we've kind of learned now, actually being in the trenches and doing this on X. I think one of the things that I have sort of realized is that you can't just throw kind of more traditional job recruiting stuff on X and have people use it the way that they would use it on Indeed or on LinkedIn, because they're not there to look for a job. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's like two things kind of come out of that. We need to start having a place where people go as a destination when they're thinking about looking for a job or looking for work. And that needs to be kind of separate from the rest of the product, because, if you're actively trying to find work, you're probably not sitting there scrolling your timeline. You're going somewhere that's specific for finding work. So I think we need to do a better job of having that destination for people. Right now it's like x.com/jobs. It's okay, but it's not a destination. I think the other thing we need to do a better job of is making this sort of serendipity happen that was already happening before X hiring existed. So like, if an example would be, if someone posts about needing a designer, right? Like right now, the algorithm will only surface that to people, to followers and people who kind of like that person's content, right? But what we should be doing is finding a way to recognize that this person is looking for a designer and broadcasting that out to the right people on the platform, and effectively turning a post into effectively a job description, right? And making that be the thing that people see and effectively can apply to. So I think we have some work to do there. I think there's some interesting ways we can approach that problem. I also think that, right now, if you want to apply to a job on X, we just send you off to apply on the company's website, like the career page, like you would for any other job you apply to. And that's very much like, goes against a lot of things we believe at X. Like, we want to keep things on platform as much as possible. We want the process to be simple. We're sending people off to do these really clunky, shitty, like, apply flows that are hosted by Workday or Lever or whatever. And I think we want to try to keep those conversations on X and make them as easy and free flowing as possible, like having a DM conversation, right? I think the problem with that, though, is today we can't just drive everything to DMs, because DMs is not, our current version of DMs is not great at handling a lot of conversations. You can't effectively manage conversations with 1,000 people in X DMs right now. So I think we need to make some improvements to DMs, and then we can start driving more of these hiring conversations.
It's like basic Slack and DMs.
Yeah. I think of it as just like someone who's recruiting needs to be able to deal with thousands of people in a sane way. And right now, I've tried to do this. Our DMs just do not work well for high volume.
I'm assuming Grok would probably be like, Grok is like Twitter or X's AI. Would probably start to become more a part of that. So if you have 1,000 conversations going on, you could be like, who is interested in the job right now?
Yes.
And it would and be like, there's 300 people. And you say, who has submitted actual examples? Show them to me. And shows them to you. That's going to be the kind of...
There's many cool things we can do around effectively having an assistant, an AI assistant or agent that's helping you go through your DMs. I also think there's just very basic things like you can't archive a DM. And so if there's a conversation, if you get a DM from someone and you're maybe not interested, or you kind of close the loop with them, you can't like put it to the side. You also can't organize your DMs. And I think when you're dealing with thousands of DMs, people need workflows that are reasonable. You need to be able to have something that feels like an inbox zero workflow of like, okay, I've processed everyone that's reached out to me. There's just no good way to do that. So I think we have to solve some of those just like basic product UX issues. And then I think we'll be able to drive a lot more interesting conversations around hiring on the platform. So
yeah, I mean, I can't wait to see. So speaking of that, and of course, feel free to not say anything on this, but I know Elon has talked about plans to make like super app. So like India, China, these places have all these super apps. Specifically, WeChat's probably the best example of where you can order an Uber, you could pay people through it, you could pay for groceries, you could pay your phone bill, you can request a new driver's license from the government, all through this single app. And it's a little puzzling that we've never seen like a super app like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we have Uber, but it's just for Uber. Maybe you have like Uber and Uber Eats, but it's like kind of a little bit overlap. But we don't have anything like that. And is that still like part of the roadmap to kind of like integrate payments, integrate jobs, integrate everything else to where it's like this all ties into where you could use this one app? Like I could pay my parking ticket through X or something at some point. Is that like still part of the roadmap?
Yeah, I think when Elon talks about the vision to everyone on the team and try to get everyone aligned and pointed in the same direction, I think he uses two sort of common phrases, the internet town square, right? Which is sort of kind of aligning everyone around this idea of free speech, and then the everything app. I think that we will almost certainly head in the direction of WeChat and the Everything app. I mean, there's a lot of parallels. WeChat started as a social network, started as a messaging app. They got into payments. It is no secret that X is working on payments. It's no secret that Elon wants to run back kind of some of the things he did at PayPal and kind of do it again. The original X, back in the day. And so I think we're definitely heading in that direction. I think we would love to be at a place where I think WeChat has something like 1 billion daily active users, and they're using, it's like a integral part of people's day-to-day lives, like, 1 billion people every day. I think we would love to get to that point and be like the Everything app for the US, and then maybe other countries after that. But yeah, it's certainly part of his vision, and it's certainly a thing that I don't think he's shy about talking about publicly.
So it seems like we're. I remember when you said you were talking about your early career that you started during the internet bubble.
Yeah,
where it's like this new technology, the internet starts finally becoming an adult.
Yeah,
and you can actually use it for things.
Yeah,
everyone gets hyped, and everyone sees the future. Everyone knows like this is what it's going to be.
Yeah,
right. You're going to order dog food online. You're going to order groceries online. Of course, it was all too early at the time. So Webvan, there was like pets.com,
yes,
infamously just like flamed out. Now, it's just like the idea was good. It was just way too early, right? We didn't have phones. The drivers had to like have like equipment installed in the vans to navigate. It was just too early.
Yeah.
Do you think as like an AI engineer kind of person, like that we're at that phase where it's like AI's here, it can do certain things, but people are overhyping it, and that we're going to see like I don't want to say a crash, but rather a correction of like, it's going to come back down to earth, and then the real building will start to happen over the next like course of a year. Do you see that same trajectory?
Kind of. Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, I don't know exactly what the next 10 years are going to look like. It's going to probably be messy, but I do think we are at the very beginning of a very impactful technology wave that is going to completely change everything about how we work, how we live. Like, I believe that in 10 years from now, everything is going to look wildly different because of AI.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that I think a lot of people see that, and there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of people jumping in to kind of work in the space that maybe don't know how to build products, don't know how to build companies. I think there's potentially too much money getting invested too early in businesses that sound good on paper, but maybe don't have a real business model, or ideas that, when you dig a little bit deeper, you realize aren't good because they're just going to be replicated by, Anthropic, Perplexity, OpenAI at some point. I think there's a lot of that going on. There is definitely a frothy, bubbly environment right now, but unlike other kind of hype bubbles that have happened in the past, I believe that there is like significant, impactful technology being developed today that will absolutely change everything. So I think OpenAI has like they measure their progress. There's like 5 levels that they use to describe like progress towards AGI. It's chatbot is sort of the first level, which is the level we're at today, which is like the ability to just have a basic conversation with an AI. There's a reasoner is I think the second level, and that is AI that can use logic to solve problems, can understand context, can have deep conversations about various things. 3 is agents, so like AI that can do work, like autonomously do work for you. 4 is like creative problem solvers, or I think it's something along those lines, that can actually do like solve new problems that have never been encountered before. And 5 is like organization, where an AI can effectively be an organization all on its own. So AI says we're on level 1, or OpenAI says we're on level 1. I think that that's correct. I think that there are a lot of interesting businesses that can be built with chatbots that weren't possible 2 years ago. But I also think that I think that we will get to level 5. So I think we will go through the reasoners, and I think we will get to agents over the next 2 or 3 years. And as the tech gets there, I think it changes everything. I think specifically, well, I can talk about some of my own experiences coding, but like, just having the chatbot level AI be there with you while you're doing work is an unbelievable level up for an engineer. Engineering is getting a lot of the focus right now because engineers like to build for themselves. So all the engineers are focused on how to make engineering better, and the tooling is quite crazy. Like currently I'm using Claude and this tool Cursor to write code on sort of side projects on the weekends. And I am somewhere around 10x more efficient than I was before. Like, no joke.
And this all happened in the last under 2 years.
Yes.
Wow.
And I would say really within the last 6 months, it's become like very compelling. And so I think that Copilot, like any white collar worker, sitting at a desk doing work on a computer will have a Copilot helping them do their job within the next couple years. I think seems like a pretty safe forecast. I think as we transition into AI that can reason and AI that can do task autonomy, there's a lot of companies working on agents right now. There's hundreds, if not thousands of companies trying to build like AI agents that can do tasks autonomously. I think if there's a bubble anywhere, it's there, because I think there's like some fundamental technology problems that we haven't solved. And I think that a lot of those companies will end up not building a good product and failing. But I do think it will happen. And when it happens, I think we will see some like very, very significant changes to how people work, to how organizations work. I think we'll start to see crazy things like managers managing teams of only AI, or AI working side by side with people on projects in like collaborating with them. I think we will see potentially AI managing people. Like, I think that's like a very real possibility. I think we will see AI hiring people to do jobs. I also think that there will be like organizations that are effectively completely run by agents. I think all of that will happen within the next 3 to 5 years, and it's going to completely change how every organization operates. So that's maybe a very bullish take. But like having played with this stuff every day and having like tinkering with it and seeing how rapid things are evolving, I really do believe that things are going to look dramatically different 5 years from now. So
yeah, I mean, one thing I've noticed, this stuff is moving so fast that it's very difficult to even predict 2 years or 5 years out. I mean, ChatGPT is like sub 2 years old, which is
crazy.
Wild.
Yes.
Right. And like there was GPT-2, and that's when I started following it. I remember I actually invested in some AI companies around GPT-2 where I was like, wow, it could write subject lines. Not great, but out of 10, one's like kind of okay. Yeah. Then GPT-3 comes out. It could only be accessed through APIs and stuff. So a bunch of companies formed around building those. And then ChatGPT came out, and like to the world, it was just like interact with this, essentially what we would have called AGI 5 years ago, for free. Yep. And it just keeps getting better. There's Chat 4.0, whatever, all that stuff. And then all the different ones, Anthropic, there's Claude, et cetera. So that's moving so unbelievably quick. One of the things I've noticed, I run a writing company, right? And so a lot of people are like, want to just wipe out your company right away. And I was like, it actually has wiped out certain types of writing.
Yes.
So for example, I would classify it as the low level, medium level, high level. Low level is like, your appointment has changed from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock. AI can do that really well. In fact, perfect. That is just gone, right? So to hire a person to do that is almost silly at this point. Medium level writing is kind of like maybe like a blog post, an instructional blog post. AI can do that really, really well and almost perfect already. High level, it still hasn't got there. However, every time I say that it hasn't got there yet, I'm like, this is under 2 years old.
Yeah.
In 5 years, will it be there? I mean, the answer might be yes.
Yeah.
But what I have noticed is like people are like, well, now you can write these really long blog posts instantaneously. And I always have to tell people, I'm like, but who's reading blog posts? It's just like, it's not the content method that it used to be. 10 years ago, that would have been a really helpful thing. Now it's like people aren't really reading long blog posts. In fact, what people are reading are short blurbs, kind of like X tweets or X's or tweets or whatever. And you're listening to Mark Andreessen, Balaji Srinivasan, the smartest people in the world, write 100 characters.
Yeah.
That's high level writing. It hasn't replaced that yet. It hasn't got there. So just the format has changed. And so yes, you can write 10,000 word blog posts really quick with AI, but it's like, is that useful anymore? So I've actually seen a lot of companies say we're going to move all AI writing, and then they quickly revert after about 6 months. A parallel I saw was back in the day, let's say 2010, when the internet started becoming pretty ubiquitous throughout the third world. People started outsourcing engineering jobs to India at an aggressive rate. And then they realized they all brought them back.
Yes.
And the reason was, this 12-hour delay is very difficult. There's a cultural delay. There's a different work ethic, all that kind of stuff. It's really hard to get these two teams to work together and make a good product. So everyone reverted, not fully, but they left some of the jobs in India, let's say tech support being the most notable one, and then brought the engineering back over here. So I see the same thing happening where like people are going all AI and then going, okay, wait, too soon. Let's do human, but then a lot of AI.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a merger. So I also saw this happen in the publishing industry roughly circa year 2000, 5 years before and after that, where people are like, well, let's distribute all online, no physical. And it was like at first a combo of the two where you supplemented your physical stuff with online, and then it went totally online. So I imagine the same thing would happen over here, where at first it's like hybrid human AI, but then AI gets better and better and better. And then it starts becoming some human, mostly AI.
Yeah.
I assume what will be the end goal.
Yeah.
End goal being we're all robots. Like I think that's the long term, but that's a little too far away.
Yeah. I think that for things like writing where your audience is human, I think there will always need to be a human in the loop who can curate and decide if other humans will care about the thing being written. I also think for the case, the examples you listed, like Mark Andreessen, like people don't want sort of like the type of generic insights that would come out of AI. Like they want him to comment on things he's experiencing, companies he's seeing, conversations he's having, right? And like, I think the future of high-level writing is being able to take those thoughts and those insights and just produce them faster, and maybe at a slightly higher bar of quality. But I don't know if I want to live in a world where you take the human out of the loop completely. Like I want these insights coming from a person and their experiences. And I want a human to decide that this thing is going to be interesting for me, at least at that very, very high level of writing. I want my
ex post to be human. I want my customer support to be AI.
There you go. that I think is a perfectly acceptable future. I think if I mean, just to be honest, if I got the vibe that my X timeline was just a bunch of people that had their AI bots posting shit for them every day, I would just go look somewhere else. Like, I just don't think that maybe in the future, people will have a different feel or kind of opinion about what they want from AI. I don't want that. I want to consume what other people have to say and are thinking. I don't want to, I don't want that from AI.
Yeah. I mean, obviously when this stuff came out, I was highly interested because I run a writing company, right? So I'm just like, hey, there's this thing that can now write for you. Let's see if we can use it. We actually built integrations for our writer to where they could like use ChatGPT to analyze something.
Yeah.
The problem was the demo is really cool.
Yeah.
Right. You show it and it gives feedback on a piece of writing or a page. And you're like, holy crap, it did it. And then when you actually look at it, it's just like, use good CTAs. It's very generic advice.
Yes.
That's not specific.
Yes.
It's not great yet. And so we never actually put it into production because it's like, it's not good. It doesn't do anything. So we thought we'd be doing a lot more AI writing. It turns out no. And I'm not against it. I'm not like trying to like compete against it, human versus AI. It's just not that good for modern day writing. However, it has been a great research assistant.
100%. Yeah.
Researching things. Oh my God. I mean, I couldn't imagine life without AI anymore. Like having to look at Google and 10 blue links and do all the research myself would be tedious. It would be possible. It would just be very, very tedious. I'd almost have to have like an assistant do it.
Yeah.
Now I can do a lot of those things myself that I just previously could not do with normal Google search.
Totally. I've actually been using it for writing as well. And I found like a few use cases interesting.
Do tell, yeah.
Yeah. So I think what I will often do when I want to write about a thing is I'll collect a lot of links and I'll collect a lot of thoughts, and I'll do that over the course of like many days or weeks. And I think AI is amazing for taking all of that and trying to just synthesize it down into a nice outline. Mm-hmm. I think being able to have it take an outline of your ideas or thoughts and put it into a first version of like a piece that you then iterate on, I think is interesting. I think I'm not the best writer in the world, and sometimes I will get stuck on a sentence or a paragraph that doesn't sound right to me.
Mhm.
And I think brainstorming by saying like, give me 10 variations of this sentence, give me 10 variations of this paragraph. I think that can be very useful. I think obviously the research piece is super interesting. So I think it's similar to how I think about like the coding co-pilots. I think you still want a human kind of pulling the strings today, at least. And I think you want the AI to just make you 10x more efficient, and help you get to a better outcome faster. So that's,
Yeah. I think what AI is doing and what I've seen in the real world, it's that it's turning someone who has one specific talent and putting them up the chain. I don't know what.
Yeah.
So for example, someone who's a writer, I just see this. We have so many people who are writers. Someone who's a writer generally doesn't have very good design skills.
Yes.
They have a really good analytical mind for writing, and they can make really good writing, but it typically doesn't translate to great design. That's it. It's not like an overlap that you see all that often. And so one interesting thing is now I can make images with AI. Now, the first versions of like ChatGPT, their version was like pretty sucky. It's like all anime looking. However, if you instruct it to do like make in stippling style, which is where you like take a pen and like make a lot of dots, this concept, and it'll do it. And then you say, that's not it. You say, make 4 more. It'll make you 4 more, and you go, cool, make that one big. And you can actually interact with it. So it's like, instead of learning Photoshop and actually all these brushes and stuff, I can just describe what's in my head and make it happen on the screen. It's not exact yet, but damn, it's getting so much better. In fact, the image stuff is way less older than ChatGPT. I mean, it's like a year old. And already they're adding a bunch of features to it. And then if you talk about Midjourney and stuff, they're even further along.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And so I'm just like, okay, in 2 years, am I going to have to learn how to use brushes in Photoshop anymore? I think the answer at the current pace is absolutely not.
Correct.
You could, and I think there's going to be, I think there will be a niche industry where like human stuff like still has like a different feel than the AI stuff. God damn, it's so good right now.
Yeah.
And right now it has some problems. Like if you tell it to write text, it doesn't understand that it's writing text. And so it makes like garbage text, or it's like, it'll be half Chinese, half English, like that kind of stuff. But that stuff's being ironed out pretty quick. The other thing is it doesn't understand that certain things are layers, but now it does. So actually the recent update for ChatGPT's image generation understands layers to some basic degree and will get better.
Right.
So I think instead of being just a writer, I can now make world-class imagery that's specific to my style. I can make a GPT to say, make it in this style every single time. So I just type in a thought and it'll make it like that. It'll make versions of it I could pick. So we've actually shipped these in projects. We did a project with the Daily Stoic recently at like a large company, Contrarian Thinking. And it's very impressive. People are like, whoa, where'd you get these images? Who'd you hire? And he's like, this is AI. Yeah. This is AI. This is Midjourney. This is ChatGPT. It looks this good. And most people are a little bit taken aback because this is like what a real artist does. And now it's just done by some dude who typed in a few words.
Yep.
The same guy the guy who's the writer that can't design can now design. So I think it puts everyone up the chain a bit. Every step of technology has done that, right? So it used to be back in the day in the 1960s, a writer literally sat at a typewriter and never left the room. And then it was like up to other people to distribute that work for him. And so now I can write in my room, post on X, it's distributed to the whole world theoretically, right? So it moves everyone up that chain. And so instead of just being a designer, you are now some sort of like business owner or designer, writer, coder.
Yes.
It moves everyone up that chain a little bit. I can write CSS, but very poorly. I have to use W3 Schools and look up stuff on Stack Exchange every single time. I just put it into ChatGPT. I'm like, I want to do this. I want to make it red with a big border. And then it just writes the code for me. And then from there, I modify the lesson, the numbers.
Yep.
And so it just moves everyone up that chain. I think that's what's going to happen. Everyone's going to get a chain up move. And then another one with the next versions of AI.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that we're going to see the rise of the generalist in most organizations. I think that, when I think about the future of software engineering, when I give like engineers advice about, I have had a few conversations recently with people who are like, I'm a little scared about all these things I'm seeing. I'm seeing
you should be
agents that are writing full applications and like product managers that are building, products from scratch in Claude. Like it's it's scary. And the advice that I've been giving engineers is like, you need to broaden your skill set. You can't just think of yourself as exclusively an engineer. You need to get good at product. You need to get good at design. You need to be comfortable at writing. You need to learn how to hire. Like I think there's going to be very few people kind of in the modern organization in 5 to 10 years from now that just do one thing really well. Well, that will exist. That will still happen. But I think you will see a lot more generalists who are expected to be, a team of one, that maybe ships an entire product all by themselves. And so I totally agree. I think for me personally, it's actually given me confidence to take on projects that I wouldn't have taken on before, because I thought I would have to go out and hire a designer, maybe hire a web developer, a front end engineer, maybe hire a copywriter, and now I have more confidence to take on those projects, knowing that I can fill in those skill gaps with AI, which is very empowering. I feel like there are a dozen or so. I have this big list of ideas that I'm considering working on. At least a dozen of them are things that I wouldn't have worked on maybe a year ago, because I would have had to go out and build a team around them. But now I feel like I can augment myself with AI and just go tackle those projects. So it's going to be a huge level up for a lot of people.
We do these weekly office hours, and this one guy came in. He's like you got hired as a social media manager at a big company. Yeah. And then also some general content. And they were trying to build these calculators, the engineering calculators. It's like an optical public company.
Yeah.
And he didn't know how to originally do these in previous office hours. And one time he came and he was like, "Hey, look, I made this, and we took your SEO advice. It's ranked number 1." And I was like, "How'd you get the company to make this?" He's like, "I made it." I was like, "Oh, you learned code?" He's like, "No, I put in ChatGPT."
Yeah.
And he just said it so nonchalantly.
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, it just made it for me." Yeah. And I was like, "Oh yeah,
that can happen now." Yeah.
He made it. He told it the original version. He's like, no, make that bigger, make that smaller, make it do this, and it just does it.
Yeah.
And then the funny thing is, it's kind of self heals. So if the code doesn't work, you could say the code doesn't work, fix it, and it just fixes it.
Yeah.
Which is a really hilarious quirk that it should probably already do that. But at the same time, you could just tell it like a person. It's like, hey, this didn't work, and it goes and fixes the problem.
Totally.
So that he really went from social media manager to like developer, and just skipped that whole step. And so, that's kind of where things are going now.
Yeah. I think that there's going to be a lot of that. I think product managers are going to start coding like product, the product.
Or at least make mock-ups.
Yeah. Getting to a prototype by themselves and then bringing in engineers. Designers, I think, will be able to get to their own product or their own prototype faster. There's all sorts of, I think, interesting things that we won't even be able to anticipate that will happen.
The way I put it, like the way I view it with images, because now I'm much better at making these AI images that like look unique, is like I see a thing in my head. I could see something in my head. I don't know how you visualize stuff, but I see it. But I can't get it out.
Yes.
Like it's stuck in here.
Yes.
And there's no way to trap. And I suck at drawing. So like I generally draw stick figures and stuff. I just don't have this technique to get it out of my head. And I know how to use Photoshop. I know how to use Canva, but that's also a limited skill set I have. Now with AI, I can describe, or actually even better than describe with text. I actually, I talk to the AI a lot more.
Yeah.
And I say like, I want a guy in stippling style and he's holding up a thing, but like not too high. It should be all in the frame. And I just basically ramble. It comes out. And it's almost right, and I tell it to correct it, and then it's right. So what's in here can now get to the real world much quicker with AI. And before, I was powerless to be able to do that without hiring other people.
Totally. And I mean, even in your example, you could even draw your shitty stick figure and take a picture of it and be like,
totally,
take this general format and, apply the style and add these details and use this color scheme, and it will get pretty damn close.
It's also even better because like with the designer or someone you hire, you have to tell them what you're thinking. Yeah. Whereas the AI, I can just, because making the image costs nothing, I could say, just make this more badass.
Totally.
And it doesn't say like, well, what do you mean more badass?
Yeah.
I'm just like, make it more badass. And then come up with the first version and then go from there.
Yeah.
And so it's almost like better in some ways because it's so cheap to generate that image that you could throw it away.
And the feedback loop and the number of cycles you can get, right? Like you can do with a designer, you have an extended feedback loop. You only can reasonably iterate so many times on a thing. You can iterate with AI. You can do 1,000 iterations with AI in an afternoon, and that's just impossible to do with it. It's just
I'm actually working with a designer on something. There still is value in like certain designers for certain
100%,
things.
100%.
But here's the thing: instead of hiring an artist to draw this custom product, we have about 30 custom images, and we did it in a day. Or like one a day and then a little bit of time in between. We shipped 30 full custom production ready images that I would have to hire an artist, like a good artist too, to make this kind of level for several $1,000s at least. And that's all thanks to AI and my $20 a month subscription. Actually, I think you can do it for free.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about, you talked about some of the AI projects you're building. What are you building now?
So right now
outside of X.
Sure.
What are you building?
Outside of X. So, I'm not like building anything for monetary gain at the moment. I'm mostly just experimenting with various technologies. So I think recently I actually did build myself a tool to help me with my writing, a tool that helps me go through this workflow of collecting a bunch of notes on a thing, turning those notes into an outline, turning that outline into a draft, and then being able to like select parts of that draft and get suggestions from the AI. And so I did this, I'm actually using it. I think there's things I need to do to make it like very useful, but it's actually improved my like writing workflow, and I'm going to continue iterating on that. The cool thing about that is that I can have various prompts that I've pre-built baked in, like 3 or 4 different prompts. I can try them against various models, and I can do all of that instantaneously, different prompts, different models, all at once in the same UI, and just compare a bunch of options and just see a lot of options in one place, which I think as I'm writing, that's very helpful for me. So I've been working on that. I've been using that as an opportunity to get really good at prompt engineering, which I think is going to be like a very, very valuable skill. It's kind of crazy when you see someone who is really good at prompt engineering, what they're able to get these models to do. It's significantly different than what like a novice prompt engineer can do. There is actually a cool story about this. There's a fairly well-known prompt engineer. I don't know his name, but I know he's written a book on prompt engineering, and he worked with Lenny Rachitsky, the product guy. And they took 3 very high-level product management tasks. I think it was come up with a product strategy, come up with like metrics to measure a product, and then come up with how you would measure the ROI of a product feature. And those are like very high-level product manager tasks. And they went and they kind of sourced some examples, and he wrote this article walking through the process of how he evolved these prompts. And the prompts that he got to were insanely long and complicated, like not something you just do kind of naturally. It's like it takes a lot of work to get that good. And he was able to get out of two of the 3 tasks, he was able to get to outcomes that he had a bunch of people vote on it that were better than the humans doing the same task. I think it was coming up with a product strategy and coming up with the metrics to measure like the success of a product. And I think he was able to make that happen by being incredibly good at prompt engineering. It's definitely a skill. So I'm working on that, trying to get good at that. I'm trying to kind of speed run all the technology that's out there. I've done a kind of a coding assistant. I'm working on something for my wife and I to help us find. So I'm working effectively on a personal Yelp replacement for my wife and I that we can, we have all these places we go to and all of our opinions about them. And I want to be able to just ask a WhatsApp app like, hey, my wife, what should we do today? Yelp is bad at that. There's actually not good. It's almost like asking a friend that knows Austin well, like, what should I do today? So I'm just tinkering with a lot of these things, and we'll maybe find some ideas to turn into actual products. But right now there's so many interesting things to experiment with. I'm just spending a lot of time hacking.
Well, as an engineer, how do you get around this, concept? Basically, a lot of places have started these little AI, companies, side projects, but then like the new version of ChatGPT comes out, and just does it.
Yeah.
And so instead of like having to sign up to your dumb SaaS to pay whatever a month, it just does it for free.
Yeah.
How do you think about that problem?
it's a real problem. I think there's a few ways to combat it. I think if I was going to start a company kind of focused on AI or using AI, I would be looking at like very niche things. OpenAI, Perplexity, Anthropic, they're focused on broad use cases that make sense for the masses. And then there will be certain things that these models are just naturally good at, like latent abilities that these models have to do things like coding. Mm-hmm. But they could go down the route of making the coding features like the best possible thing out there. But I think the companies that are very, very focused on just the coding use case will win. Like as an example, I'm using Claude. When I'm coding these days, I'll have OpenAI open, I'll have Claude open, and I'll have my editor open, which is Cursor, and I'll be kind of using all of them. I'm starting to lean more and more on Cursor, who calls out to some of these models because they built, it's built in to the UX in a way that's incredibly useful and saves me a bunch of time that OpenAI and Claude just can't do. So I think you have to just think about, how do you create, going after particular niches, creating a user experience that these companies would never create because it's so specific. They're going to keep their user experiences fairly generic, I believe, for a while. So going after user experiences that are very niche, I think. At the end of the day, go to market is super important for all these things, like knowing how to sell to a particular audience for a particular use case is important. If you are selling to, if you're doing something that's very, very specific for accounting, for example, like knowing accountants really well and wrapping OpenAI and putting, this shiny wrapper on it that's specific for accounting, knowing how to market to them, knowing how to speak their language, understanding their problems deeply. I think there is value in creating those businesses still. And I think that as these models get better, your products will just get better as well. Like, at the end of the day, all these OpenAI wrappers are backed by OpenAI. And as OpenAI gets better, if the way that these wrapper products are being created are smart and thinking about this, I think that just means that their products level up in turn. So
if you were to start again today, starting businesses, like what kind of stuff would you start with all this new technology being introduced?
It's a good question. It's a thing that I've been thinking a lot about. I think I would probably start by looking at sort of like second and third order effects of AI, like the things that instead of going directly after some of the things that OpenAI and these companies are working on, I would be thinking about like what in the world is going to change as these models get better, as we move up the chain from chatbot to reasoner to agent to, creative problem solver to organization, right? The world and the way we work is going to change dramatically. Mm-hmm. And so I would be thinking about what are the unlocks? What are the impacts on the world as we move from like level 1 to level 2 and level 2 to level 3? I think there's like a lot of interesting things there. I think two things that I have been thinking a lot about is what happens when the world gets overrun by AI content. If my inbox is filled with a bunch of emails that are generated by AI that are generally slop, if my Twitter feed, if Medium, if all the places where I normally go are filled with AI content, how do I find good stuff? What does curation look like in this new world where there's a lot of content being created for AI? So curation, I think, is like an interesting theme for me. The other thing that's interesting to me is just the ability to start businesses with very small teams that would have otherwise been impossible. So instead of just building an AI product, utilizing the AI to start businesses that that obviously OpenAI would never go after, and build those businesses much faster, build the product better, do it with a much smaller team. I think that there is going to be a massive opportunity to look at every single industry out there and create new AI first versions of those businesses with, better products and dramatically smaller teams.
So what about for people who are looking for jobs? I always think, there's percentage that are just like always trying to be entrepreneurs. And then I think there are people that are just much better suited to like working an awesome job.
Yeah.
Do you have like any career advice for people in that?
I think generally speaking, the career advice that I give for people that are looking for a job falls under the theme of just like increase your opportunities to get lucky. I think that is, I don't remember the first person I heard talk about this, but I've heard a handful of people talk about it, and it really resonates with me, this idea of like increasing your luck surface area.
Mhm.
And so that looks like, I guess, doing good work and putting yourself out in the world so that serendipity can happen. I think and then I think, so I think that's the primary advice that I give people. I had been giving people. I think the kind of thing that I'm adding, career advice I'm adding, is like learn how to use AI tools and become a generalist. Like you need to expand outside whatever the thing is that you do. So if you're a product manager, you need to learn how to create apps, simple apps and prototypes. If you're a designer, you need to learn how to do basic coding through AI. If you're a growth person, like the example you gave, like you need to learn, you need to be able to do content, you need to be able to do design, you need to be able to make small tools. Like I think learning to become more of a generalist and learning how to use the AI tools to be able to do that effectively, I think that's like my current up-to-date advice that I would give anyone that asks. So
Nice. And as someone, you're director of engineering, so your direct report is Elon Musk. I thought the fun way to end this would be like, are there any cool Elon Musk stories? I mean, besides the one you've already told, or any interesting things you've learned from him, or just kind of like frameworks to look through?
Yeah, definitely. I think I'll probably avoid specific stories, but I'll give some themes, some very clear themes. So, just, as I've kind of watching him operate and learning from him, I mean, clearly it's impactful to work for the guy. It's meaningful, right? He's potentially one of the best entrepreneurs ever. So I'm paying close attention to how he operates and trying to learn as much as I can. And I think about this a lot. I think the thing, the most obvious thing is just his unbelievably insane sense of urgency. Like it's just unbelievable. Like how he thinks about time as a resource, how he pushes his teams to move fast and iterate faster, how he is just constantly pushing on do it faster is pretty crazy. And I mean, he doesn't just say it, he like lives it. Like his personal sense of urgency is pretty insane. There is this story that, I don't know, people listening to this, and you've probably heard about, it's in his biography, about how he needed to move a data center at Twitter, and he was given an estimate of like, this thing will be done in 6 months, and he wasn't happy with that answer, so he fired the team. And then the next team, you need to do this in 6 weeks, and the team was trying to do it in 6 weeks, but I think things were going well, and he's like, you know what, fuck it, we're going to do this in 6 days. And him and, some people in his, like, that he was close with, they actually like flew to the data center and like were like personally involved with like ripping out servers, cutting cords, pulling plugs, boxing shit, putting it in a U-Haul and moving the data center. And like just that, and this all happened, I think, on Christmas Eve. Like it's just that sense of like, he's the richest person in the world, like one of the most powerful people, and he's worried about moving a data center. And like that like insane sense of urgency is just crazy. And he like, that's the very public story that people know, but I see that sense of urgency constantly. And I think whatever I do next, if I start another company, I'm going to try to, I don't think I'll ever be able to match his sense of urgency, but I will certainly try to like ratchet it up. It's been very interesting.
I'm a self-proclaimed, I like Elon. I think for whatever people think he's bad, every time I see those arguments, I'm kind of like, not good enough. Like, it's just, okay, he's annoying on X or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is an opinion people can have, valid. But I'm just like, does that exclude all these crazy things he's done for humanity? It's just like someone's posting on X. Like, I mean, everyone does this, right? It's not that big of a deal to me. So I like him. But do you think like the controversy that he causes is like a bug or a feature? And I can't tell. Maybe it's a little bit of both.
It's probably a little bit of both. I mean, I think he'll admit that sometimes he shoots himself in the foot. I think he's admitted that publicly before, so I think it's safe for me to say that. But I think the thing that I appreciate about him and again is a thing that I will aspire to kind of replicate one day, is just how authentic he is. Like, the dude is himself, just no shame. He's not trying to hide anything. Like, the guy is absolutely 100% himself, privately, publicly, same guy. And I think that is like, even though I might not agree with everything he says, I think that is admirable. And it's a thing that I look at and I'm like, I wish I was more comfortable being myself like he is. Like, I think it's a great quality. Now, does it have material impact on X, and like, does it sometimes bite him? Yeah, probably. But I think as a whole, I think the good far outweighs the bad.
I remember, I mean, obviously, like, we remember like Steve Jobs. He was the Elon Musk of that time.
Yes.
And I remember when Steve Jobs died, I was just like, wow, that, like, there's a big hole to be filled. And then Elon Musk kind of filled his place.
Yes.
So all the controversy, Steve Jobs had a lot of controversy too. He would be really mean to people. He was known for like yelling and berating people in a conference room. And I remember thinking, I'm like, okay, for the average manager, this is probably a bad thing.
Yeah.
But he was like, let's be real. There are some people that are here and there's some people that are here.
Correct.
Steve Jobs was here. I think Elon Musk, over the average manager at a company,
yes,
is here. Okay,
yep.
We could agree. So these are different breeds that we're talking about. And I think I remember thinking, like, not backing up Steve Jobs's assholeness or whatever, but I almost think he did it out of efficiency. So let's say you have a bunch of managers in a room and someone does subpar work. Well, his job is to keep this whole team shipshape. So he chews them out in front of everyone, and everyone goes, holy fuck, I don't want that to be me.
Yeah.
I better get my shit on top, right? And so then they go and do better work. I almost thought it was like a tactic, and I think he knew he was doing it. And he's like, I don't care if people think I'm bad. This is the way that I got to be to run the biggest ship in the world.
Yes. I think I read a book about Steve Jobs recently, and I don't know if this quote was directly from him or if this was someone else kind of paraphrasing something he had said, but there was a quote in the book that very much stuck out to me, which is just blunt is simple. And like, Steve Jobs was all about simple. He was all about keeping things as simple as possible. And like, blunt is the easiest way to get your idea across in a work setting. And so I think that's really what it comes down to for Elon. He will sit there and go through hours and hours and hours of meetings, getting updates on various things from various teams, various companies, getting into the weeds on all these things. He doesn't have time to watch his words and sugarcoat things. He's got to be blunt. And if he's not happy with something you're doing, you need to know right then and there, because he's not going to have time to write you a follow-up email or hit you up on Slack afterwards and be like, hey man, I didn't like that present. No, you need to know right then and there, because that's his opportunity to deliver the message. And so sometimes that can be harsh. Sometimes it can be, can feel bad, but also I think it's certainly efficient. And it certainly keeps things simple. You know where you stand. Yeah. You know when you fuck up, and you don't have to like have a follow-up conversation with Elon where we're having a performance management chat. Like it's all very to the point.
So you're a direct report to Elon. Is he like responsive? Like, can you just like text him or email him and he gets back, or is it like sometimes a long delay, sometimes fast? Or?
Sometimes fast, sometimes long delay. I think it just depends. He's just got so many things going on, and I think it also just depends on what he is passionate about in that moment. Hiring has been, he cares a lot about it. I think he sees the potential there, but he's often got 10, 20 things more important than that. So
like Starship is launching or something.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's so many things, right?
I can barely respond to my friends.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't even imagine like a level that this guy's at.
The fact that one of the other just takeaways from working with him is just like the dude's got insane endurance. Like, he can just work for 12, 14 hours a day, just constant communication, constant stream of input and output. And he can still like operate coherently. Like, I'm sure he's like built himself up to that point, but I couldn't do that. Like, I would have to really train myself to have that level of endurance that he has.
This is a weird question. I've met a few people in my life where I can feel the IQ horsepower is at least a full standard deviation above mine. Yeah. And you can see it. Well, one easy example, everyone, like Peter Thiel, we had a dinner with him and I was just like, oh, he's on a different level.
Yes.
Like he has, I don't know, more connections in his brain, whatever IQ translates to in the real world. He has more of that than I do.
Yeah.
And I could feel it. Is that something you physically have felt?
The first time we met with him, honestly, not. I think he was. It was a very different vibe. He was just charismatic, listening.
You were at a party.
Yeah. But I have certainly met with him at times where he starts going off on tangents or talking about other things or gets into the weeds on a thing. Where you see how he was able to accomplish everything that he's accomplished. I think he's able to context switch. Insane. His context switching is insane. Like he can be talking about, training XAI models 1 minute and then how to compete with LinkedIn the next minute and then deep manufacturing problems the next minute. And like being able to context switch and speak intelligently about all these different, very complex area. I mean, it's crazy. And so, yeah, I have a ton of respect for the guy's horsepower and in his endurance. It's insane.
Nice. So where can people find you and anything you want to plug or anything like that?
I would recommend if anyone wants to find me on X. Find me. I'm just O'Shea @O'Shea on X. And then I think the only thing that I will plug is I am going to be doing let's call it a side project accelerator. I'm going to do it for fun. It's going to be like a free thing. I'm going to find 10 to 20 engineers or product people or even designers. I think at this point, like we talked about, I'm very open to the type of profile that I will accept here, but I'm going to find a small group of people who are trying to build a side project that's very AI focused, either using AI or an AI focused product. And I'm going to basically help them ship a side project in 6 weeks. And we're going to meet twice a week. We're going to swap notes on various technologies, on tools to make themselves, go faster. We'll give feedback as a group. And the goal will be within 6 weeks, we've all like shipped a interesting thing that's either like heavily driven by AI or used AI in the process. And so follow me on X if you're interested in that, and I'll probably put up like an application form.
That sounds like an awesome, and it's free. I guess I assume that the reason that you're doing it is try to like you want to be at the forefront of this as well and get ideas from other people.
I mean, honestly, I just want to meet cracked engineers that want to work on cool shit. And I think like when going through YC, I felt like, that there's so much energy and excitement, going through YC when we went through that process, just being around smart people that are at the forefront. And I think I would love to just capture a little piece of that, even if it's working on side projects. So I'm already doing this stuff. I'm already kind of working on these side projects. So I figured it'd be fun to do it as a group and help use some of the sense of urgency I've learned from Elon to help push some of these people to ship stuff.
Man, that sounds badass. I just want to I want a window into that to like watch. I used to love, I went to a hackathon recently.
Yeah.
At a big crypto conference. And it's kind of funny, like the crypto conference downstairs has like a certain type of person. And then you go to the hackathon and there's 800 so like 22-year-old kids.
Yes.
With laptops that are just like building cool shit on the fly. Most of it sucks.
Yeah.
But then like this little cream of the crop rise and you're like, oh, what's that? And I think that's how big companies are built.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want to work with all 800 of those people. I want to meet them all and figure out what they're working on.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Well, follow O'Shea on X, Daniel O'Shea, Director of Engineering at Twitter.
Yep.
/X. Appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Get around this.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Sweet.